National Defense University. Joining us here in the studio, David, welcome back to Al Jazeera. So you heard Kimberly there talking about how the U.S. is trying to present some sort of alternative path to the Israelis when it comes to this ground invasion of Rafah. What does that alternative look like to you?
Well, the administration's proposals are to back off, sort of isolate the area and conduct targeted special operations raids against specific Hamas people. I don't think the Israelis will accept this, and I'm not sure how workable this is in practice.
What are your concerns?
Well, the first concern is that you have to have very good targeting, and if you have so many displaced people, it's very hard to discriminate between what's military person, what's not. Hamas operatives, they embed themselves among the civilian population. They don't make it easy to find themselves. So I think the Israelis will probably reject this as unworkable and impractical. Until the Iran attack, the United States focused on this and probably was doing it. Now, though, the narrative has shifted a little bit, and I think it's more likely than not that the Israelis will reject this proposal where they might not have done it last week.
I mean, the concern, of course, has always been, there's a lot of pushback from the international community when it comes to Israel's plans for Rafah because of the large number of displaced Palestinians who are sheltering there.
That's exactly right. Well, not just that. Even without the displaced Palestinians, you still would go into an area that the main body of Hamas has moved into. They have underground infrastructure. You would be destroying another city. The last city that hasn't been destroyed really in the Gaza Strip. But the problem is, from the international opinion was moving against Israel, was restraining Israel. Opinion in the United States was doing it. Now it appears that there's a shift, that the focus is now on restraining Israel from attacking Iran. And I think that in the course of negotiations between the United States and Israel, the Israelis are apt to say, okay, we'll do one for you, but you've got to support us on the other. So
that's the thing. How credible do you think these reports are, right? Because there is some reporting coming out of the U.S. saying that Israel is potentially holding off on attacking Iran in exchange for the U.S.'s support when it comes to invading Rafah.
That seems to me.
Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds exactly right.
Based on what?
Well, the military logic is I just don't see how you could achieve Israel's security goals in Gaza without going in there and physically destroying the military infrastructure that Hamas has. You can do it in a way that perhaps would minimize civilian casualties. You'll still have some. You can do it in a way that, might be more likely to do it. But I think that Israel's declared security goals in Gaza require them to go in there at some point. I think they were restrained by three factors. One was shifting public opinion. One was the fact that their ground forces were just exhausted, and they withdrew a lot of them a few weeks ago. And then the other one is you have Passover, which runs until the 30th of April. So I think in the next few days, it is possible that as a result of agreeing not to have a massive attack against Iran, which would ignite a wider regional conflict that the Biden administration wants to ignore, the Biden administration is probably going to give way on Rafah, and the Israeli forces will be more prepared, more rested.
I wonder what makes you think that they can actually achieve their declared military objectives, because it's 7 months into the war and they still haven't been able to do so.
That's a very good question. I didn't say they can achieve their military objectives. I said they can't achieve their military objectives without doing it. So they may still fail, but this is something that I think if they are to have a chance of success in doing it, this is something that they have to do.
And how can they do so without sort of escalating the situation even more? Not only, obviously, harming a huge number of civilians, but also potentially seeing the other fronts ignite even more, like the front with Hezbollah and the Iraqis as well as the Yemenis.
Good question. So I think my guess is that what the Israelis will do is they'll say, okay, Iran launched a massive, unprecedented ballistic missile and drone strike upon us. They said that they consider that the end of it. That's fine. That's the end of that exchange. However, if we see a resumption from their proxies in Yemen, in Lebanon, and elsewhere, while we're conducting these operations, we will consider that pledged to be gone, and it's game on. And then again, you have once again the prospect of an Israeli retaliation.
Do you really believe that that is the end of the sort of Israeli-Iranian
I do
kind
not.
of? Okay.
I do not.
Why?
I don't believe that any Israeli politician can be allowed to acquiesce, passively or not, in a direct attack on the Israeli homeland of that scale and still have a future in Israel. I just think that that's too much.
So how do you think they'll respond?
Well, that's a good question. I think they will respond in a more targeted manner. I don't think that you'll see 330 projectiles coming at Iran. I think that what you'll see, though, is some damage to facilities, and they will emphasize proportionality. So missile and drone factories, Revolutionary Guard leadership targets, and possibly infrastructure that's being used to disrupt shipping, naval infrastructure, things like that. It's of note that the target that everybody was talking about was the Bashad, the Iranian ship in the Gulf of Aden that's been used to target attacks on civilian things. That ship, they seem to have gotten the word, that ship has sailed after, I think, 3 years at sea back to Iran.
We just have about 15 seconds or so left, David, but a quick thought from you on the CIA director saying that Israel's response to the Iranian attack would have failed without American intelligence, our support, and the support of our partners.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true. We're seeing reports that most of, if not all of the drones were taken out by U.S., Jordanian, allied coalition forces.
All right, David, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much, David Desroches, for speaking to us. And thanks for watching the NewsHour on Al Jazeera.